Howdy, I'm Anna with Always Right, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about the Goodreads Choice Awards 2023 and what kind of information you can pull from them as an aspiring author. Now, real quick, let me explain what the Goodreads Choice Awards are. It's basically a popularity contest for books that were released in a certain year. For example, the 2023 Goodreads Choice Awards are for books that were published in, you got it, 2023. Claps all around. This year they received 5.8 million votes. Features 15 categories with 300 nominated books in the mix. So the Goodreads Choice Awards always takes place like at the end of November, and then the results come out in December. So why do I say there's value in the Goodreads Choice Awards for you as an aspiring author? I got a little caveat for that before I really get into it, but you as an author, I'm assuming you're potentially wanting to go the more traditionally published route, because a majority of the books that are featured in the Goodreads Choice Awards are traditionally published. There are some self-published books in the mix, don't get me wrong, but for the most part, it is more traditionally published books. As an author, if you're aspiring to be traditionally published, if you're aspiring to have a job in publishing, one thing you have to know is the publishing industry. How do you learn about the publishing industry? By reading. I mean, there's also some other tools you can invest in, like when you're querying, you can look and see what's selling, you know, what kind of titles are selling, how many new sci-fi authors have been signed, how many new fantasy authors have been signed, by who, blah, blah, blah. You can do all that. And that's obviously not gonna be here on the Goodreads Choice Awards. But if you're trying to figure out what kind of book to write, you may have like a laundry list of books that you've kind of mapped out, that you've kind of played with the ideas of, ooh, I can do that, ooh, I can do this, you know. This will hopefully help you narrow it down a little bit. And that's where the Goodreads Choice Awards comes in. They can help you see what's popular, see what's being recognized by readers. As you probably know, especially with traditionally published novels, it takes a while for them to go from being purchased by a publisher to like fully released on the Barnes & Noble bookshelves. It takes probably 2 to 3 years, depending on, you know, the publisher, depending on your book, blah, blah, blah. So a lot of the books that we're gonna be looking at were written about 2 or 3 years ago, let's just assume. But it is still very good to know what is popular, what is going on in the literary world. If you have written a novel and you're in the process of like querying, you have to know what the current market is for the genre you're wanting to publish in. And that is a large part of where the Goodreads Choice Awards comes in. So let's pop it up. Ta-da! Magic, right? And let's look at it. So, like I said, there's 15 categories. This year, they have fiction, historical fiction, mystery and thriller, romance, romantasy, fantasy, science fiction, horror, young adult fantasy, young adult fiction, debut novel, nonfiction, memoir and autobiography, history and biography, and humor. And as you could see, the results. Now, I'm just going to assume here for a hot second that the last 4 won't apply to you, because they don't really apply to me. That is the nonfiction, the memoir and autobiography, the history and biography, and the humor section. I'm not saying you can't do it, it's just those are kind of very particular genres. Let's look at the best fiction for 2023 according to Goodreads readers. Now, of course, Yellowface won. And the really cool thing about this Goodreads Choice Awards is that you can see exactly how many people voted for that book. So 20,722 voted for Yellowface. You know, Hello Beautiful got 60,171, and so on. If you wanted to publish in the fiction genre, you need to know what is being published, what is popular, and what is similar enough to your book that you might be able to use it for a comp. Now, I'm not doing a comp video, we're not going too into detail, but just assume that in the first year of a book's life, if it has, let's say, 25,000 reviews or ratings, it's not gonna be a good comp for you. If it has closer to like 25,000 ratings, that would be a good comp, because it's not such a big book that the agent that you're querying will go, yeah, everyone says that. Everyone wants to be the next, who is it? Let me see. Everyone wants to be the next, R.F. Kuang, we understand. You think you're like R.F. Kuang, who had how many? Do you want to guess? It had 227,000 ratings. Not reviews, ratings. That means that people went onto their Goodreads, pulled it up, said 3-star, at least. That doesn't mean that they went through and they're like, my mother was born in Kentucky, and like the cookbook websites, where they like do a life story and then they're like, oh yeah, this is how you cut a potato. These are just ratings. These are like the easiest things to do on Goodreads. Look at the list for your genre. If you haven't read any of these, like I haven't, which is really wild, it just shows how rough my year has been this year. But if you haven't read any of these books and you're wanting to publish in fiction, you should probably pick up 1 or 2 of them to see what is going on. Of course, the caveat is the book should probably be similar to what you're writing. If you're writing like a 50-year-old woman, who just lost her husband and she's relearning how to live, Big Swiss isn't gonna do much for you. No offense. It's like a sex therapist transcriptionist who falls in love with one of the therapist clients and she recognizes his voice. Like, that won't help you. Similarly, Yellowface won't really help you if you're writing that 50-year-old woman who lost her husband and is trying to find, herself again. Surely there's something in the Goodreads that's similar to what you're writing. Anyway, let's go look at the historical fiction real quick, because I always think these are interesting. Historical fiction is great to follow up after the fiction section, because the fiction section had it like with this crazy 200,000 vote for the winning thing. Meanwhile, historical fiction, the winner had 62,000, and if that was in the fiction section, it would have gotten second place, and just barely. The nicher your market, the nicher your genre that you're wanting to write, the fewer votes they'll receive on Goodreads, and you're a lot more likely to be able to use them on your query letter. Mystery and thriller. Now, if you are wanting to write mystery and thriller, and you're like, trying to break that code, you've been rejected, you're trying to figure out what book to write next because something wasn't working, or you're just like wanting to reach that status of published immediately, look at what they're doing. Look at what the authors are doing in the Goodreads section. For example, The Last Devil to Die, that's at a retirement center. That's Richard Osman. He did the Man Who Died Twice, stuff like that. Just look and see essentially what the trends are. I'm not saying to chase the trends. I'm just saying that you need to know, once again, what is popular, what's going on in the genre you're wanting to write. And if you are looking to do self-published work, I still highly recommend you look at the Goodreads Choice Awards so that you can see what the covers look like. So that you can take mental notes, take stock, see what people are liking. Like right now, it seems to me, as a not really mystery thriller kind of reader, that eyes are very popular on these covers right now. Eyes or forlorn kind of watery scenes. Look, Handmaid's Secret is an eye. Vera Wang's is a little set of eyes. The Bright Young Women is a pair of eyes. The only one left, there's water. All the Dangerous Things, water. Homecoming looks like water. I don't think it's water, I think it's road. The River We Remember, water. What Lies in the Woods, an eye, here we go. Keep going down. Water, rain. There is a lot of value hidden in the Goodreads Choice Awards. You just need to know what to look for, and you need to realize what you need to be looking for. Romance is a very, very, very interesting category. Not just because they split up like the romance and the romantasy, because romance is one of the few categories that I noticed has self-published alongside the traditionally published. Pucking Around, Final Offer, I think maybe King of Pride. I'm pretty sure those are all self-published. But it is a very good thing, once again, to come and look and see what is popular, see what tropes are popping off, kind of see where the genre is going. Truly, that will help you so much. With the romance section, like I said, they have all of these little self-published novels thrown in there, which I'm so happy to see. That just shows that romance as a genre is being influenced more and more by what's going on in the self-published realm and what's going on with like fan fiction. Love Theoretically, Allie Hazelwood. She wrote the Kylo Ren, I think that's what it was, Kylo Ren like fan fiction, turned it into that one book that everyone absolutely loved, and I'm totally blanking on the name. You know, nailed it, right? Here you can see that kind of handwritten looking text is littered across these covers. Look at this. Theoretically, that looks like it's written. Things We Hide from the Light, that looks like it's written by hand. The Final Offer, final, looks like it's a little bit of cursive. The Right Move, Wildfire, stop it. Meet Me at the Lake, Pucking Around. The Long Game, those all look not as like so, they look a little more handwritten, but they don't have the rigid formality of like Helvetica, you know, Times New Roman. They're a little spicier, they're a little more interesting. And of course, I'm gonna say it, kind of cartoony characters on the front, very popular. The Love Game, You Again, Hello Stranger, Practice Makes Perfect, Wildfire, Love Theoretically, and Happy Place. Those all have kind of those cartoony, bright characters on them. Next up, Romantasy. It is a very popular genre. Romantasy actually has a lot of self-published books on it as well. Of course, it has the big ones like Fourth Wing, and I think that's really like one of the bigger ones. That is so interesting. So many of these are more kind of self-published authors. That is fascinating. And especially with like self-published, it's a lot easier to kind of chase the tropes, chase the trends, because you know you don't have that 2-3 year gap where you're working on the book with the publisher and trying to get it so that they're happy and you're happy, and hopefully you make a lot of money off of it, or some money. On to fantasy. Now, fantasy is very interesting because you have some huge names here. You have Lee Bardugo, you have Brandon Sanderson, you have Samantha Shannon, you have V.E. Schwab, you've got Cassandra Clare, you've got Adrienne Young. Come on, scroll faster. And then you kind of get into the retellings and some debut novels too, which is interesting. One of the weird things about the fantasy section, as you can probably see right here, is that there is a jarring barrier essentially between like the top 10 and the bottom 10. And it's right here. You can see it right here. It jumps from like the 24,000 votes to 9,000 and 8,000 votes. But it's very interesting because you can definitely see hints of the romantasy, like the cover design especially, bleeding over. Like if I was looking at these books, I would assume that would be that looks romantasy, you know. This, very similar, as well as the Mark Lawrence. Also, it's great to read these. See what people are really liking about them. See what's going on. Just a note for you. Don't get too bogged down in this list. Don't think, oh my God, I have to read every book. Oh my God, I have to read every single review or else I'm not a good author. That's not what this is about. This is about being able to kind of skim information from looking at the list and then kind of looking at the little descriptions they have. Like, this one's not a very good one because it hypes up Brandon Sanderson at the beginning. I mean, that's not a very good example, but if we went down to The Starling House, a grim and gothic new tale from author Alex Harlow, whatever, about a small town haunted by secrets that can't stay buried and the sinister house that sits at the crossroads of it all. I mean, you can skim and see essentially what people are really liking, what they're really connecting with. And of course, once again, with these big sections like fantasy and romance specifically, they are of course going to have the fan favorites like Leigh Bardugo, like I said, Brandon Sanderson, V.E. Schwab, Cassandra Clare. All of those are well-known names that garner support just because it's Brandon Sanderson, just because it's Leigh Bardugo and she wrote Shadow and Bone, you know? Should you get just totally caught up, totally wrapped up in just your section, like just your fantasy, just your romantic section? No, I highly recommend looking at what else is being recognized, what else is being voted on in the Goodreads Choice Award so that you can be better educated on what readers are looking for, period. I know sci-fi is a very small section, 1,300 votes for the bottom one, but it does go all the way up to 57,000 votes. So don't be afraid to look at these sections outside of what you're writing or thinking about writing. See if any of those ideas just make you go, oh, this would be really cool. I could use this kind of thing, this kind of thing. Again, just from skimming. I'm not saying go read these 300 books. You've got a deadline of like January 1st. Good luck. What I'm trying to say is that there is so much information, so much raw information all throughout the results. And there's so many opportunities for inspiration as well. At the end of the day, you can spend as much or as little time looking at this as you want. You may see different trends, may see different patterns than I do. And that's okay. That's the beauty of it, right? That's the fun thing of reading and writing. That's all I have to say. I was a little more long-winded than I wanted to be. I was like, oh, this will be a very short video. It wasn't. Not as short as I wanted, obviously, but that's okay. So thank y'all so much for watching. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing. Let me know down in the comments below if you noticed similar trends or if I missed like a really obvious one. I will see y'all in the next one. And as always, let's get writing.